Okay, so welcome to Unit 8, Assignment 2. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of problems from the worksheet just to show you how we would do those. And you'll also want to watch the other videos that have been posted there in the weekly list of assignments. So since I don't have the worksheet at home, I just looked at the computer and I wrote down that's Unit 8, Assignment 2, Factor by Grouping. Problem 1 is x cubed times quantity x plus 1 plus 3 times the quantity x plus 1. So I went ahead and just wrote that down, and then I'm going to do the problem. So when we have talked about factoring, we factor out what they have in common. We talk about greatest common factor. So as I look at this term and this term, what they have in common, there's an x plus 1 here and an x plus 1 there. So they have an x plus 1 in common. So I can go ahead and factor that out in front. So I'm going to write x plus 1 out in front. And then what I have left from this term gets written down, and what I have left from this term gets written down. And there we go. That's the answer. Now, it's totally okay if your answer is x cubed plus 3 times x plus 1. It's okay if you use that answer, or if you write it in this order. Commutative property of multiplication says it's okay if your terms are flipped, as long as you have the right terms that are there. And this x cubed plus 3, those two have to be together. You can't switch the 1 and the 3, but you can have this term come second or this group come first, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's how you do problem 1. On problem 1 through 4, they are kind of done for you. The first step of the problems are done for you. They've already got something pulled out there in front. And so that's how you do those problems. So for problem 2, we've got 4r times q plus 2 plus 3 times q plus 2. So I look to see what do they have in common. They both have this q plus 2. They both have that q plus 2 there. So I'm going to write q plus 2, I'm bringing that out in front. And then what do I have left? I've got this 4r and this 3. So I've got 4r plus 3. Okay, so that is my answer for problem 2. All right. Okay, not too tough. Then you're going to do 3 and 4 on your own. Then when you get down to problem 5, it's going to have, we have one other step we need to do first. So I've got x squared plus 3x, and then it's plus 2x plus 6. Okay. So your first step on this problem is going to be to draw some parentheses. It's not an exciting step, but it's an important step. So we're going to go ahead and draw parentheses on the first 2 and around the last 2. Just kind of creating little groups, because trying to factor something out of 4 things can be difficult. So we're basically breaking down the problem into two easier problems. So then I'm just going to look at these 2 things together. Ignore the others for a second. Just look at these 2 terms. So what can I factor out of each of these? What do they have in common? Well, this has x squared, that's got 1x. So I know I can pull an x out in front. And so what would that leave me with? X plus 3. And to see if I factored that correctly, go ahead and multiply x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. So I know I factored that correctly. Now I'm going to ignore that part for a while and just focus on this one. Don't lose that positive there. What can I factor out of these 2 things? What could I divide both of these by? If you can't look at it and tell, you can always write out its prime factorization like we did for assignment 1. But I can tell, all right, I can't factor an x out of both of these because this one doesn't have an x. But I can factor a 2 out. They're both divisible by 2. So 2 times what gives me 2x? All right, 2 times x gives me 2x. 2 times what gives me 6? 2 times 3. So let's make sure we factored it correctly by multiplying. 2 times x is 2x. Yep. 2 times 3 is 6. So we know we factored it correctly. Now, once we've done that first step, It's just like the problems you do in 1 through 4. They say, what do they have in common? I've got that x plus 3. They both have an x plus 3. They both have that x plus 3. So I'm going to bring that x plus 3 out in front. And what's left? I've got a 2 plus x. X plus 2. And there we go. So we've got the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x plus 3, or you can write it via x plus 3 times x plus 2. Doesn't matter. Okay. Let's go ahead and I will do problem 6 for you also, just so you can go ahead and take a look at that. And then you'll be on your own. We've got x squared plus 5x plus 4x plus 20. Okay, so we've got those problems there. And remember, our first step is check to see there's nothing I can divide all of them by, and 4 is kind of hard to handle anyway. So you're just going to be drawing your parentheses to break it into 2 smaller problems, so it's a little easier to handle. So then I'm just going to look at our first group, x squared and a 5x. I know I can factor an x out of each of those, and so that leaves me with an x plus 5. To see if I factored it correctly, just distribute. X times x gives me x squared. X times 5 gives me 5x. So I can tell I factored that one correctly. Now let's take a look at the next one. Let's see, what could I divide both of those by? Looks like I could divide them both by a 4. 4 times what gives me 4x? 4 times x gives me 4x, all right? And you can look at it as saying 20 divided by 4 is what? 4 times what gives me 20, either way. So I've got x times the quantity x plus 5 plus 4 times the quantity x plus 5. What do these 2 terms now have in common? They both have that x plus 5. You don't have to underline that. I'm just doing that so you guys can see it easier. So I'm going to write that x plus 5. I factor that out of the group. And then what I have left is an x plus 4. So I've got x plus 4. Okay. So I've got x plus 5 times quantity x plus 4. And that would be my answer. All right. Go ahead and work on these on your own. Try them out. If you get stuck, please contact me or Coach Waitley, and we would be glad to help you through this. Thanks so much and good luck.